And I didn't really know what to do with all of that for a long time. And I attempted to shut it down, and spirits would come in to try to get my attention, all sorts of ways. It used to freak me out. And things would sit on the base of my bed and put their hand on my calf, and there was no one there, but there was someone there. And you're just trying to make sense of things.
If you've been holding back on stepping into a more fulfilling and passionate life, now is the time to go for it. I'm not talking just thinking about what you want, but taking the steps to live in the life you truly desire. If that might feel daunting to you, there are some souls out in the world ready to assist you, and my guest today is one of them. Her name is Jean Atman, and she's a consciousness coach, quantum healer, author, and speaker. Jean helps women build the confidence they need to go after their dreams and live the life they envision for themselves. Her primary focus is on empowering them to heal past pain and create internal stability and well-being so they can enjoy an ease-filled and joyful life. Jean's unique combination of intuitive energy guidance, soul coaching, and belief sculpting sets the stage for radical transformation. She remains fiercely dedicated to that cause, and throughout her 21-year professional career has empowered tens of thousands of people worldwide to consciously create a beautiful life experience. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, let's just dive in. First off, I want to dive into the fact that you have been on a mission from a young age.
Yes, very true. Didn't know it when I was a lot younger. It continues to unfold as my, as I evolve. But yeah, it was a bit tumultuous growing up and having gifts and not really knowing what to do with them, or having parents that believed in them. And a little backstory, my mom was a nun and my dad was a brother, and they met through their religious life and got a dispensation from the Pope to get married. And so,
whoa, I got chills on that. That's crazy, amazing, but wild.
It is very wild. So that I'm here born into that family is an interesting concept, but they come from a very traditional background. And when I come in here, remembering past lives and challenging everything that they believed, it was, it was an interesting upbringing. And I also grew up with a ton of trauma. It was a really abusive household. And so I kind of came in here with a huge resistance to life. And as most empathic people develop their gifts, we really have to sort of learn to read the room at an early age, and really become sensitive to other people's emotional states around us, just so we can stay safe. And so my ability to connect with the outer realms has always been present. And then it kind of amplified by my need to keep myself safe as much as possible. So it really sort of amplified all of the gifts very early on. And I didn't really know what to do with all of that for a long time. And I attempted to shut it down, and spirits would come in to try to get my attention, all sorts of ways. It used to freak me out. And things would sit on the base of my bed and put their hand on my calf, and there was no one there, but there was someone there. And you're just trying to make sense of things. And everybody else said, that's not possible. And I'm like, but I'm literally feeling somebody touching me right now. Like this is happening. So it was really confusing early on. And I remember when I first had experienced Reiki, through my Reiki master, actually. And he asked, "Oh, you're doing some body work." And he said, "I'm feeling some stagnation and congestion in your heart space. Can I do some Reiki?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is, but I trust you. Let's go for it." And my eyes popped open and I was like, what is that? And I just felt all this movement and vibration through my chest. And it really was so beautiful and powerful for me in that moment, because I realized that other people also saw things, felt things, understood things that I had sort of felt or understood, but not really knowing what to do with it. And all of a sudden I had this teacher. So it literally, I just was, I'm a Taurus, I'm bull, born in the year of the ox. So I don't do anything in a small way.
Full on.
I move things and kind of headstrong. So I just started exploring every single energetic modality I could get my hands on, because I wanted to learn what was happening inside of me that I didn't have a frame of reference for before. So it's been, my journey has been a really winding, winding exploration of all things internal, energetic, spiritual, cosmic, pretty much all of the above.
Oh, I just love it, Jean, because I found that over throughout my lifetime, maybe the last 20 years is what I've been really had my awakening and just kind of, exploring, kind of like you. I did all kinds of modalities, healing modalities. I was a massage therapist. I loved it. But what's interesting and what I found along the way is that people who've had trauma or have had really, hard growing up things, they've gone through, there's been a lot of backing and support. I believe that we contracted, brought in these beautiful souls that are working with us. And then there's, like you said, galactic energy, there's bigger ascended masters, there's all kinds of backing and support for our journeys while we're here. But it seems to me that there's like additional backing, or those that have come in with some trauma, really intense, get those empathic abilities really young, because they didn't show up for me till later. I guess I've always been sensitive, but not like, what you're sharing with me. And I've heard this from other people too. So what do you think that's about? Do you think it's just, you just need additional backing, or you've really come in to work this early? Cause I found it like later in my life. So
I do think that we get support either in the tangible realms or from the outer realms, or both, but usually one is dominant and they might switch and flip flop. For me, because I didn't have support growing up, just a lot of cruelty, no protection from it. Thank God that I had connections to things that I didn't understand, because while, this presence sitting on the base of my bed was scary, it was still comforting at the same time. So it was really interesting to experience those things, but I never felt completely alone in things. When I was a teenager, I rebelled a lot because, as I said, I had resistance to life here, and I didn't want to feel things. I didn't want to be in my body because it wasn't fun there. It wasn't pleasant there. So I got involved with a lot of things as used as escapism tactics, and just a lot of dark years throughout those times. And I didn't really develop, I channeled the Ascended Masters, and I didn't develop that until later in life. And I remember the first, I was doing a deep, deep chakra clear of my system. And when I got to my throat, this whole time, how your body just kind of like starts to unwind and things, you're feeling things and you're not intentionally consciously moving it, but you're experiencing the movement. I got to my throat chakra and my head started to kind of move backwards, and I kind of got stuck with my head in a extended position. And it scared me a little bit because I couldn't feel like I was in my body enough to do anything about it. So I called on Archangel Michael to come in and pull me from the depth of that meditation. And all of a sudden, I felt this massive presence on my right. And I felt this hand kind of gently push my head onto his shoulder. And I sat there kind of freaked out, thinking, okay, I've officially lost my mind at this point because I'm experiencing this, but am I experiencing this? And I sat there for a little while, kind of freaked out, and just kind of drinking it in to see, okay, well, you literally just called him and he's here, and now you're not sure what's going on. So it took me a little bit to acclimate to his energy and to come to this realization that this is actually happening. And then all of a sudden I felt this feminine presence on my left, and she indicated she was Saint Bridget. And I didn't know who that was at the time, but we dialogued for a long time. But when I came fully out of the meditation, really the only thing I remembered from our conversation was what she said to me at the end. And she said, "You've been restless your whole life because you've been looking for your connection back to us." And I was like, oh, that's it. And so from that moment on, I was like, those are my people. That's my tribe. That's my, right. It's my connection, because I didn't have it in this physical realm. So I think that, as you've said, as we experience a lot of trauma, we do need support through that, because we are here to unpack a lot of those deep level traumas. And those of us that are compelled into the healing business, and even self-healing is, massive as far as, impacting the collective. When we do that, it's like we do need that extra system to kind of help us through that, so we can move through these things that we signed up for.
Exactly. That's the hard part, right? We did sign up for these.
I know, but I always call it the fine print. I didn't read the fine print before I came in here, clearly.
Like, oh my gosh. I even knew a lady one time when I was working with her, and she said that before she came in, she actually saw what she was signing up for, and her guidance was like, "Are you sure you want all this?" she's like, yes. And then now she's like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I mean, but she recalls remembering signing, oh, yep, I want all this. They're like, all right, here you go.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
on
I
a
think
platter, right, Jean?
I know when we're up in spirit realm, we're like, yeah, we got this. We're good. We got this. And
Oh,
when you're
yeah.
experiencing the physical, you're like, what the fuck? You know?
Exactly. Like, why? And let's talk about the why, Jean. So helping people get their why things are the way they are, because that is a big deal. Because like we're talking about here, we all go through a lot of stuff. I too have had, a lot, years of drinking a lot and, sex and different things, and really just like kind of being on a whole different plan than the spiritual, going forward plan. Well, I mean, I've always been going forward, but just diving in deeper to those realms of darkness for sure.
Yeah.
And so helping people get their why am I doing this? Why are we going through this pandemic? Why is all this happening to all of us right now? That's, I think, a big thing to really kind of dive into a little bit, because it's a big issue. Why?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, those of us that have been on path for a long time, we knew this ascension process is happening. It's been happening for a long time. And we learned, back in the day, I don't even know who they are that said it, but 2020 is like the big year and we're all amping up and excited about it. We're all happy something big's going to happen. When it hits, we're like, woo, we didn't see that one coming in that way, and it was terrifying for a lot of people that didn't understand that this is really helping to shake loose and dismantle and deconstruct all the systems that have not been working for a very, very long time. And people typically, as humans, we don't like a lot of change. We like to know what to expect, and we even grip to things that we don't like just because it's familiar, right? Yes. So when things are epically changing, it's terrifying for people. And so, but that's, sometimes we have to really crack the world open to really grow and bloom into something better. So there is a greater purpose. And I feel like if we can identify with that and activate within us that sense of trust, that there's a greater, grander plan, there's a purpose to all this chaos and craziness, I feel like it's a lot easier to stay on track with where you're actually going. And what people do a lot of times as they're making transitions is they tend to focus on what they're losing as opposed to what they're gaining. And so I'm always kind of encouraging people to just shift that perspective ever so slightly into something. What are you learning from this? What are you gaining from this? How is this serving you? What strength is coming from this? Because this is literally, this process of ascension is such a growth of evolution. That's what we're really kind of came in here to do and experience, because the world is ready for something better. And what's great about this is we do have some cleanup to do, but as things are dismantling, we really do have the opportunity to step into the new earth energy right now and experience things that is kind of like stepping into the potential of life. And so you might be noticing right now, even the relationships that you've always had that are really deep and really supportive, all of a sudden they deepen. And it's almost like you're accessing even more prominent core parts of people, and you're seeing things with much greater clarity, and you're feeling compelled towards things that you didn't even know you wanted before. And something that you may have been working for, blood, sweat, and tears for decades, all of a sudden you're like, what am I doing? I don't even really want that thing that I've been working so hard for. So it's really, it's kind of a mess out there right now. And
a little bit, Jean.
and those people that are really into holding on to control, I would encourage you just to see what it feels like to surrender some things that feel safe. Surrender some little things first, see if it feels good to let that stuff go. You start to feel relieved from it. You start to feel liberated. Then you can start to let go of other larger aspects of your life that don't fit. But it really can be a baby step process. And I also encourage people to do that, because if you take a step forward, if it feels good or if it doesn't. And if it feels good, then take another one, and then take another one. And if it doesn't, you pivot. It's really not as big as we like to make it out to be. But again, as humans, we like to complicate things, right?
A little bit.
So coming into the simplest form, what feels good, what feels inspiring to you. And this is the other thing I'm noticing about the old paradigm energy into the new earth energy, is it's no longer about rallying, pulling your big girl pants up, motivating you, even when you don't want to do things. A lot of light workers and energy sensitives are exhausted right now. And it's for a good reason, because we're not meant to keep working in the ways that we've been working. And when you don't have the physical energy where you can't pull it anymore, you can't rally anymore, guess what? You won't. You'll learn to do things in a different way. And so when you tap into that exhaustion, instead of berating yourself, saying, there must be something wrong with me, I need more coffee, more stimulants, more whatever, got to keep going, check in with those programs and see, is this something that's actually serving me? Or does this one just kind of need to be dropped off?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And what
Definitely.
can I do differently? And people don't know what to do differently, and that's okay. You're not meant to yet. Even just saying no to what you don't want, you'll start to allow space in for what you do.
Definitely. I think a lot of this was coming to me too, as you're talking about, where people are at and things like that, is that most of my listeners, obviously are awake, or they're, coming into their spiritual aspect of who they are, and etc. But it's also not judging others around us, because like you said, growing up, like your mom and dad, they were in their place. They came in with their beliefs, concepts, and all their baggage. And then you came into that, and we are living with partners. And I have 2 children that don't talk to me. And they're on their past, and I'm okay with that. But everyone is where they're at. And so really just honoring as we go through this huge shift is that, we're all where we need to be at, and it's okay. We're going to make it, because there's no death as a soul. We're forever. But really recognizing the fact that, just understanding where others are coming from also. And I think that's a big part of right now is that just, looking at both sides and going, it's okay. They're where they're at, I'm where I'm at, they're where they're at. It's all okay. Like you're saying, Jean, we meet our tribe. A lot of them are angelic. A lot of them are our beautiful guidance. And those are always with us to work with us.
I love that so much. That point is so powerful right now, that we are okay. And really this challenge that we've been through, it has created so much division. And we've heard about the split earth concept, and we're, those of us that are curious, we're like, what does it look like? What's going to happen? What are we supposed to do? All these things. But we start to see the split happening, and to, as you said, not to judge one person or the other for their choices and their decisions, but really honor that person's on a very specific soul path. And one phrase that I always love to say is, I want what you want for you.
That's beautiful.
It's really about less trying to control, especially people that are close to you. You try to control them to suit your needs, but really, I want what you want for you. Whatever that is, you do that. And I trust in your soul's journey. And I'm going to let you do it. And I'm going to let myself do mine, and it gives you so much freedom to just be who you are, because we've been jockeying these expectations of others and proving ourselves and needing to prove and needing to find our value, and all these crazy, dense aspects of self that we've been embodying. And now we're coming to this place where, who are you authentically? What do you want? What do you believe? What feels good to you? Can you stop focusing externally to try to get some internal validation, and just meet yourself in those needs, satisfy them, and live? What does that look like? So people are starting to play with that now. And it's, we don't really know how to behave in the new earth energy yet. And that's okay. We're not supposed to.
Right.
But what I have seen, exactly. And that's the main thing too, is when you know how to process, you're good. That's really when you can understand what you need to process your inner stuff and your inner worlds. That's all you need, and you will always be okay there. And if you don't know yet, that's okay too. The curiosity about what would that be like, you're okay there too. Wherever you are in that journey, you're okay. So even just taking a deep breath and going, I'm okay in this now moment. I'm going to be okay in the next now moment. And just take that in as your truth and see how life starts to react and respond differently to you. It's powerful stuff.
Without a doubt, Jean. And I love that word curiosity, because as light beings and energy, we have no concept, our bodies and our intellect have no concept of how much we can shift how we're living, what we want our world to look like. We are able to create anything and everything. And so being curious and staying curious is so important.
It is. I say all the time, it's your best friend. Curiosity is your best friend. As long as you have that and you're not stuck in that kind of in the box thinking, You can get outside the box. Anything is possible. And that's where the potential is. It's not within this room. And I was talking to a friend the other week, and we were talking about problems and how people like to focus so much on what's not working. And it came so clearly, guidance showed me this thing. It's like there's a room that's like the problems room, and you're circulating around in this one space looking for solutions, but the solutions don't exist in that room. You actually have to get out of that space and move yourself into a different state of being to find the solutions of what you're looking for. So stop focusing on what's not working and start focusing on what is. And then you'll automatically start to get solutions for the other stuff that's not working. It's physics, it's energy,
Yeah, definitely. And what comes about that too is that's also in relationships, because if the relationships aren't working and you're shifting to a different frequency, it may be time to step out. It may be time to, or like, we talk about, find your tribe. And that's, I think, the most exciting part about today and moving forward in our life and where we're at in the collective is that we need to come together to work on and collaborate and be curious and expand and coming together with other people versus being isolated. And that's done. We're over that, right? Yeah. Hello, Jean. We're totally over that. But really, there's still obviously a lot of people out in the world who are very fearful, and that's okay. That's where they're at. And I honor that, like you said, but really it's about coming in together in community and having those like-minded people that you can relate to, and you can express yourself and share what's going on with you and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm. I think it is really important to notice if you are in conversation, especially as sensitives, as energetic beings, we carry certain frequencies of expression. We can't really hold things too well because it's just so big. We have to do something with it. And so other people who don't understand that sort of way of being, that might not be the person you want to roll ideas off to, because you're going to just kind of easily fall back into the density of where they are. So pay close attention to how your relationships are serving you. And if you're trying to get a need met from like a mother or father figure, or something that you're still trying to kind of fix that wound, that childhood wound. See, are you still trying to tap into that place that, again, the solutions don't exist there? Or can you just release and surrender that relationship in that way and tune into a place where you can start to build and grow? And when you feel your energy expanding and that excitement and inspiration comes, you're on the right track. You're talking to the right person. If you're feeling like triggered and, low about yourself and self-doubt comes in, that's not your person. And that's okay. They can be your person for other ways or other reasons, but really start to be aware of how you feel within those dynamics, because that's huge for information as to how you're allowing support into your life.
I love that feeling, because that's one thing that a lot of people have an issue with is feeling, and trusting that feeling and knowing that, especially the gut, right? The gut, my heart, what do I feel? How does that feel to me? What they're saying to me, how does that feel? Everything. It goes to the feel. That's where I like to start with. Definitely.
Yeah, it does. And I see, and I've worked through this myself too, with a lot of trauma congesting in my field. I do not want to be embodied. I like to be out there somewhere else. But I'll tell you, if, we live in this physical plane, and in order to manifest properly here, we really do need to be embodied. We need to function here in this plane of experience. And so if you've had a lot of trauma in your past, I would also check into, can you decongest that energy field? Can you move through those blocks? Can you bring those hidden aspects of self to the surface to be illuminated, to have awareness around them? Because when you can see it, you don't have to be it. We can get out of those default programs and live more consciously when we actually come into our bodies and start to inhabit that space, and then we can grow and we can build in this dimension through our spiritual connection to self and all that is. We're sort of becoming more of an open channel that way, as opposed to two separate pieces of self, which isn't comfortable anymore. We can't function that way anymore. We used to be able to get away with it, but truth is in your face all the time now.
And that's it, right? That's where we're all at collectively. It's like right here. It's not like out there 10 feet. It's right in your face. And And you can either embrace it, you can either, be a victim and stay in that way, but you're not gonna be able to stay in this very long because we're in such a place. It's like, it's constant now. It's going, it's moving, it's shaking. And that's just where we're at collectively. And it's where we need to be, right, Jean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's literally like drinking from a fire hose right now. Like, and if you're, I like intensity, so I'm okay with it. But those people that don't, it's like, you can ask for that to be minimized a little bit. We don't ever have to go into a place that is going to jack up the nervous system and make you feel on edge or on guard all the time. You can literally say, I need a break from this. I need this to be more manageable, bite-sized pieces, really set your stage, create your reality. And I like to power through and get to the other side of things. I've always kind of been that way. So I'm okay with it. But if that's not you, if you're like, I just want to take little baby steps and go at my own pace, claim that for yourself. Do it. You can do that. And what keeps coming through too, and just our brief conversation before we hit record, was empathic people right now and how they're experiencing so much. And what I see in a lot of people's energetic fields is a porosity that happens in the field, because our fields are so open to receiving information about other people in order to stay safe or whatever that function needed to be. But we've never closed those gaps or those holes. And so really it's claiming your space back for yourself, claiming what you really want, who you are, what your needs are, acting in those ways, and letting your natural energy fill in those gaps. Claiming the space back for yourself that will automatically help to protect from all these crazy collective energies that are weaving through our reality. Because if you are always focusing on what's coming through, it's very, very overwhelming, and it can zap your energy because things are moving through rapid fire, and you're trying to see one thing and then everything else is coming in at the same time simultaneously. It's just too much. So to really kind of claim your field, allow some borders or boundaries around your field, kind of settle into your own energy, your own space. What does it feel like there? What does it feel like just to be with me? My own frequency, my own energy, and kind of swim in that as often as you can. And then when something else comes in that's foreign, it's easy to be like, no, hard pass, not allowing that one in, and then before you know it, you don't even really know all the crazy that's going on in the world because you're so consumed with how fun this is here that you don't really care about that too much. And that any information that you need to know, you'll know. But other than that, just being okay and learning about who you are, what you want, and operating in that place, because that's what's going to move the needle forward for the collective. The more people that can get on board with their own authentic truth, their own paths, really stepping into releasing expectations and just being themselves with their authentic voice, that's what's moving everybody forward right now. So play with it and see. It might be terrifying at first, but like anything else, it's just practice. See if it works. If you face plant, awesome. You're not going to do that again in that way. Get up, try it again.
But you'll be okay.
That's right. You learn something and you're stronger for it. And let's try something different. It's just practice. So cut yourself some slack and have a little bit of fun with this big process.
Love that, Jean. Yes. Cut yourself some slack. Yes. And we're here to have fun. And that's not a lot of what's, a lot of people think about when they're, in physical bodies, but man, yeah, we're here to actually enjoy this. And I like to say that, your soul was actually enthusiastic and it was jumping for joy when you actually came back here. Like we talked about earlier, like we signed up for all this. Maybe some of the things shifted and, and changed a little bit because we're here and we have free will. But overall, man, we were excited to be back here, and we are excited to be back here. So it's striving to get that excitement back in our lives. And what I want to talk about next, before we end, is I want to talk about rest, REST. So damn, Jean. Okay, this is like a full-on roller coaster ride, right?
Yes.
For all of us, because even people who maybe say, I'm not psychic, I'm not this. Yeah, you are. If you're in a soul in a physical body, you have these abilities, and whether or not you work with them or not, that's your call, right? But man, rest. So how do you work with this word, Jean, in your personal life? Because I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it's not something that I entertained much before the past couple of years. And 2 years ago, I got hit with chronic fatigue. and complete burnout. And I was literally on my couch for 2 months without being able to get up. It was so bad. I lost my vision. I couldn't really see anything, so I couldn't drive anywhere. I literally had to rely on my girls to help make food for me and things that, because I'm a single mom, entrepreneur, like all the stuff that we come in here with, all these big things we're going to do. I was like, holy cow. So, really learning to shut those channels down of overgiving and taking all this responsibility for other people that really isn't ours. Really start, because when you're fatigued, you are very discerning about how you spend your energy, because if you can do one thing and then you're not going to be able to do anything else, you get really clear really fast about what's important. And so having that experience, I know I needed to be hit that hard because I just wasn't listening to the signs. I kept going and going and going. And again, that Taurus ox part of me, I'm going to keep going until I just can't even breathe, and now I've learned to be really gentle with myself, because I can feel you get like your body always talks to you. And so, for instance, I know if I'm doing too much, my low back starts to act up. And our low backs are all about support, right? So for feeling lack of support, that's my cue. I'm doing too much. I'm pushing myself too much. I'm not supporting myself through whatever this is. And what I found through my process was when I started to gain my energy back, I would get up and I would get excited because I don't have a throttle, too much. And so I have this energy and I instantly want to use it for something. And then I would relapse. And I was getting frustrated with this process. And I was asking guidance. I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Because I want to get back into work. I love what I do. I'm passionate about helping people. I want to be on to be able to do that. And they said, you don't rest unless you can't work. You have to learn to rest even when you can work. And I was like, oh, I mean, things that you think you should know, but you just don't.
It's one of those McFly. Hello, right. McFly.
I just kept trying and I just wasn't listening. So I started to practice. Okay, so even if I have energy, what does it feel like to just sit outside? Have a conversation with a friend, maybe, God forbid, take that day off and just go play with my kids or my friends or whatever. What does that feel like to just give myself permission to do things I actually want to do? And it's been a 2-year process for me because there's so much unfoldment, especially I think for women and mothers, that we're just used to giving and self-sacrificing and being there for everybody all the time just because we can. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, so it really is. I would encourage you to kind of check in with, again, that feeling center and what feels like it might be depleting you and draining you, and what feels like it's life sustaining for you. And when you start to sprinkle in some discernment into your process, you can start to get more clarity about what that is before you have to get thrown into a chronic illness where you're just laid up, staring at the ceiling, contemplating until you get the lesson. So it's not a fun place to be. I wouldn't recommend it. So really, taking that time to rest and even structuring it into your day, what do you really need? And I did this practice long ago where I asked my adult self, what are you going to do today? What do you need to do today? Oh my gosh, I got 100,000 things on my to-do list. I'm going to tackle as many as I can. And I asked my inner child, what do you want to do today? And she's like, none of that. I want none of that. I want to go to the beach. And I was realizing how little I was actually paying attention to my true deep needs and just overriding those systems all the time with tasks. And were these tasks even doing anything to support me? Absolutely not. It was just the busyness and the escapism tactics that I've been so used to using to not really see. So taking that time to say, what do I really, really want? What do I really need? And that might be foreign to people because we're used to suppressing our own needs for the sake of other people or whatever. So it might be just a little thread that you can see, but the more you practice it, it'll become more robust. And then when you tune in, it's like, I know exactly what I need. I am not doing that today. I'm doing this. And it'll become more and more clear. So I think just really tuning into how you're feeling and starting to honor what you feel you need is the first step in kind of playing with that concept to see how much fun can we have in this little arena over here of rest. What does that feel like, But yeah, it's got to
And,
start somewhere.
and supporting that inner child. That I love that, Jean.
Yeah, it's a huge piece because a lot of
Mhm.
times as kids, we were shut down. Kids aren't meant to be seen or heard or whatever those programs were that we were taught, so really to reawaken that childlike wonder and curiosity and play and dance and get messy and whatever that is, what does that feel like to really honor that piece where you have complete freedom to do it?
Love it. So supporting yourself is important. Resting is important. So let's talk a little bit, Jean, about how you support others in their journey.
Yeah, I've got several things that I do. It's funny, as you've said, starting from massage and neuromuscular therapy for me, and all these things, you just keep growing. But I get bored if I just do one thing. I just kind of live multidimensionally. So I have a group program that I'm running currently called Elevate. And it's a group of women, and I teach them, basically how to remove the blocks for themselves, how to really come into their own, how to bring consciousness to things that are hidden. And we work through learning the process and then also applying it to certain things like finances and money, which is terrifying for a lot of people, and relationships and relationship with self and all these concepts. But we kind of take them through that journey. I'll be relaunching another Elevate group in February of 2023. I also offer a limitless course, which I created back in 2020. And it really manages things like triggers and limiting beliefs and how to get out of your own way, what to do with frequency, how your frequency kind of helps to create and manifest aspects for your life. And if you're carrying a lower frequency with a lot of density, meaning jealousy, grief, shame, guilt, all of those things are carry more density. You kind of in the basement level of life, and we want to kind of up level into the higher floors. So learning how to drop that stuff off and identify how it's impacting you. So I take people through that in my course, and then also how to apply those methods. And then my favorite way is always my one-on-ones, because I really get to dive deep with people, and I energetically read through ancestral lineage, through trauma body, through emotional body, mental programs, subconscious, unconscious, all of those kind of systems come in to see where is the actual block. Because people have been trying for many times, many years to move through some stuff, and they just feel stuck. And I find that a lot of times we think we know what's wrong, so we try to work there. But when you see the actual truth of what's going on and you know where to work, that's where you get the changes. So I like to dive deep into, the unconscious and subconscious minds to really see who's running the show and who do we need to put in the back seat instead. How can you be the pilot of your own life, kind of thing. So I help people to energetically clear, and then I teach them how to live the life that they want to live, as opposed to living in the defaults of what they're used to.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Jean. That's wonderful. I'll have all this information on the website, your Facebook, YouTube for in the show notes. So anyone that's listening and wants to tap into this and get on board with Jean, and you have a damn good life.
That's right.
And understand how to work with those empathic abilities. Hello. And do some clearing. Jean is your girl, your lady, your woman, your soul. Thank you, Jean, so much for coming on today. It's been so much fun.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it as well.
Wow, what an amazing episode that was with Jean. And I thank her again so much for coming on and sharing today. And I thank you all listeners, wherever you're at in the world, for listening in or watching on YouTube another episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual. It's because of you is why I do what I do, because I love sharing how amazing it is to understand more about the spiritual part of your journey and how to embrace different modalities, different people out in the world and their services, and expanding and continually growing who you are as a soul. So if you've not subscribed, please do, so that way you don't miss any upcoming episodes, which are released every Tuesday. Please also feel free to share this episode or this podcast with a friend. And just remember, until next week, that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey.